Hey, this is Joey Davidson, Senior Gaming Editor at TechnoBuffalo.com, and I'm here with a look at Ni No Kuni Wrath of the White Witch for the PlayStation 3. Alright, I just wanted to apologize right off the bat. If you watch We Play regularly, then you probably have noticed that I have a little bit of a nasally voice right now. My wife brought home some sort of terrible infection that I've been trying to recover from. This is, like I said, Ni No Kuni, and I wanted to clarify right now that I'm about 5 hours into this game with this save state that I loaded up to play through for you guys. I tried to pick a moment where there was really nothing story-wise happening, just so that I could kind of show you the mechanics of the combat system and the visuals that are done up by Studio Ghibli in Level 5. Those two things are really important, but the story is crazy important to this game in my opinion, and I really hate it when preview videos ruin story elements, so I'm doing my best to completely ignore that. I will say this: your name is Oliver, and for one reason or another you have journeyed to another world. Ni No Kuni literally means another world, or the second country in Japanese, and you're here to do something. Don't want to give it away. Alright, so if you didn't notice, the combat mechanics here are kind of a really interesting blend of what JRPG fans might be familiar with, the Tales series, and that's that real-time 3D combat system, alongside Pokemon, believe it or not. But the familiars, those things that I was tossing out in battle, those guys can be caught and raised, a lot like your Pokemon system. You don't have to dive into the tall grass in order to find them, but they do come up in the real world, or in the game world, I should say. And basically, familiars are your fighting friends. You can fight with Oliver, which you're seeing here, but then when the enemies maybe call for a different tactic or a different alignment, you might want to toss out a familiar, or you should toss out a familiar in order to deal with them. And each familiar comes with different traits, different abilities, different, equipment possibilities as well. So they're all totally unique. And I'm going to say this right now, if you do play the Pokemon franchise, you might have this strange desire to stick with your starting familiars. I know I did. Oh, man, I shouldn't attack there. I know I did, but as you get down into the game, your starters really aren't that awesome, so just don't worry about using your starters selectively. You can try other familiars, no one will be mad at you. But it's a really unique combat system, and it's one that the game kind of explains fairly well. There's this really weird problem with JRPGs where you have some that overteach and some that underteach. And if you've ever tried to get into like an 80-hour JRPG, for instance, where they overteach the combat system, it's really hard to get excited about the opening hours of the game because you're so bogged down with tutorial. They pretty much throw all sorts of ridiculous mechanics at you at once and then kind of say go, and you're just left to your own. Just go figure this out. You're gonna fight and die a lot. Good luck and enjoy. Ni No Kuni is guilty a little bit of the opposite. I will say that it kind of doles out new combat features at a slow tick. It's not until 5 or 6 hours into the game that you start to experience the lion's share of combat, but as the game advances, the combat tactics should change. The emphasis moves from offense, in my opinion at least, the emphasis moves from offense and evasion to defense. You're going to want to focus so hard on defense towards the latter levels of this game, or the latter areas. The boss fights are so tough that not focusing on defense will be your downfall. But the game doesn't really tell you this in so many words. It shows you once or twice that defense is key in order to open up critical spots and maybe get your enemies beaten down enough to go into what are called miracle moves. You won't see that in this video, so I'm not really going to explain it too hard. But the game sort of relies on you to figure out the combat system. For some, that's awesome. For me, I liked it, actually. I mean, it was a nice, challenging affair. Towards the middle portion of the game, I started to get a little bit frustrated, and I had to back up and reevaluate the way I was playing. And it was there that I kind of realized, you know, it's time to slow down, it's time to do some side quests. While I'm on it, do some side quests. Do not ignore the side quests in this game. You have merit stamps and merit cards that you fill up and trade in order to unlock abilities. Some of these abilities basically are key to combat, and you really won't be able to fight very well without them. So just take my advice, focus on defense, and do the side quests. Alright, by now you should have recognized really two major things that I was going to hit on with the remainder of this We Play episode. First of all, the art style. It's Studio Ghibli. If you're a fan of Japanese anime at all, or you've ever seen any animated features, like really famous ones like Spirited Away, or My Neighbor Totoro, or Nausicaa Valley of the Wind, or Howl's Moving Castle, or probably Princess Mononoke is one of the most famous, those are all done by Studio Ghibli. Their art style is really simplistic, really straightforward, but it's also one that is very, very easy to recognize. Studio Ghibli worked with Level 5 in order to bring the art style of Ni No Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch to life. The game looks and feels like a Studio Ghibli movie, and for fans of those movies, that's an amazing compliment, and it's really an amazing feat as well. It comes together so nicely, and you could probably argue that this game wouldn't be as good if it wasn't for that Studio Ghibli magic and touch. I mean, the two kind of go hand in hand at making some Japanese entertainment properties fantastic. And the other thing is the music. The battle music is okay, I like it, but the overworld music, and that's the stuff that you hear when you're outside of battle, I think sounds wonderful. And it's performed live by the Tokyo Philharmonic Orchestra. Is it Philharmonic? It's an orchestra from Tokyo, and it was written by the same fellow that writes most of the music for the Studio Ghibli films himself. So even the music carries this air of Ghibli. If you're a fan of those flicks, you're familiar with them, you're going to feel right at home with this game. I'm a big fan of Studio Ghibli, and that was probably one of the major attracting points for me when it comes to Ni No Kuni, and they delivered on that. The story feels like it was ripped from a Studio Ghibli flick, and that's so awesome. I really can't emphasize that enough. Alright, I'll leave it here with a quick dialogue. Pay attention to the voice acting. Oliver is okay, but Trippy, your sidekick, is great. This really awesome Welsh accent appears when you use the English version of the audio file. You can use the Japanese as well. Both are great. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll have on more on Ni No Kuni on technobuffalo.com.
Here we are, Alma Moon. Beautiful.
It's different from Ding Dong Dell, huh?
Well, of course it flipping is. It's slap bang in the middle of the desert for a start.
What's that delicious smell?
That's the babanas, innit? Babanas are what Alma Moon's famous for, see? You never eaten a fruit like it. Gorgeous they are. Tell you what, I'm starving. Fancy a babana split?
Really? They're that good, huh? Wow.
Too flipping right they are. This place was built on the babana trade. There's tasty fruit.
Okay, let's try some.